Greetings, our followers of Christ. My name is Jordan, and in today's video, I have much to address. I made this video from years of experience. I made this videos from much observation, much events that I've been a part of, and though it had taken me some time to articulate this message, my life experiences has piece by piece pointed me towards this moment. And for long, I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't necessarily pinpoint what it was. But as time has passed and I began to study more, I began to make more observations. One thing was undeniable. Many of the problems in society can be traced back to one source, and this source is indeed social media. And that is a fact. This is exceptionally evident. So, when I was returning home with my mother after picking up my older brother from work, s- a question dawned on me. I asked her, right? I was in the back seat, and I was just watching, just outside as it was passing by, just watching some of the scenery. And I really asked, in totality, overall, would you say, I asked the one question, would you say social media has helped people or has harmed people? In totality, has it leaned more towards harm or leaned more towards good? At first, uh at first she leaned towards good, it made people more educated, I will give it that. It definitely made knowledge far more easily accessible. Yeah. She was weighing its benefits at first. Then she leaned towards the negatives. The negatives especially was entertainment, where she, out of her own words, had said that it made uh, people less of less quality. Social media diminished people's real integrity. It made people more mediocre. And why is that? Because it made people commit themselves less to their lives. That's what overall extends back to. And that was the observation I wanted to make a video about because my personal opinion was that it made people worse. But I just wanted to see just some other differing opinions, right? I'm gonna make the comment section. I'm gonna pin your comments that I think discuss the matter. People, of course, they're gonna get their opinion and stuff. My personal, uh, my personal permission would be that someone gives a detailed description about why they are convinced, and they can, of course, have their opinion on whether social media has benefited or has harmed people. I didn't say don't just list minor benefits or negatives. No, we're going to say overall. That means for the majority of people, has it made society better or worse? We're not going to talk about, oh, individually, it's made my life better. Beyond yourself. And also go by your observations. Well, go by your experiences with people because your story is different from another person's story. You may be disciplined enough to control your life, to, uh, have discipline over your life, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true for the next man living next door, let alone people in your own house. Many of you know family members that can't take their eyes off their computer, cannot take their eyes off their cell phone. You know people who are in bondage, or as a modern term goes, addiction, as we can call it, of course. Let's not make any mistake about that. All right. Uh, but that's what I want to really get into. When I say social media is the problem, I'm not saying social media in itself. I'm saying the drastic negative effect it has on people, the drastic negative effects it has on people, and how people bleed up to society. Because society is just collectives of people. It degrades society because it it makes people of less value, people that are very talent, full of capability. It reduces these people to being powerless, and that is a. I'm gonna go into over the course. I'm gonna go into more detail on this, but I want to put out the main idea. So building on that, aside from making people of less value, it diminishes the potential of people. It diminishes the potential of people. Our ancestors of the ancient world were more capable than a great deal of us are. Even though many of you, in theory, would be more intelligent than them because you have access to more knowledge than they did in their lifetime. Because you went from what you saw and heard, they went through their own personal experiences. You can watch things that's happening uh, across the globe. It has to do with everything that's right in front of them. So our ancestors were more in tune with life. But I want to break this view into layers so that it's easier for people to navigate on specific points. Because at the end, I'm going to have all these points come together. And from there on, we're going to make our final verdict based on all the evidence set on the table. So, most importantly, we're going to discuss the number one problem with social media, the lack of socialization. The lack of socialization. This is the most apparent and the most obvious negative effect of social media, that due to lack of socialization, it damages relationships. It makes social interactions of less value and of less importance. Uh, Major ideas are quickly de-emphasized because people's value have been genuinely uh, just degenerated, really. With the rise of social media, this is how it's possible for, I'm not saying this didn't happen in the ancient world, right? I'm not by any means denying it, but this is how you have many men and women in their houses, and their houses essentially have functioned no differently than a prison cell. You have many men and women locked in their houses. You might think, why would they do such a thing like that to themselves? It is because of this very thing I'm used to film this video. Now, had it not been for social media, there will be more intimate relationships. There would be more intimate relationships. But because social media is the perfect distraction, because it is the perfect distraction, many people can dodge feelings of low self-esteem, for example. People can dodge feelings of loneliness. People can dodge many internal human struggles because these struggles are not necessarily healed. You're not necessarily set free from these problems. You're just distracted from them. Because even you can have a young baby, you can have a small infant forget the fact that it's hungry if it's fixated on something beyond its own hunger. Things are only of importance when you focus on it. So someone can be in pain, but because he's being tickled or going through some form of pleasure, he's laughing and playing, he forgets that he's in pain. Now, did the pain go away? No, but his mind is focused on something else. in so much that temporarily that other problem becomes irrelevant. Social media is comparable to a drug. People are so addicted to it. It's a escapism from other negative qualities of their life. So a man can feel very lonely, very sad, not necessarily the most social person, but something can happen and boom, he's watching videos. Before you know it, it was 6 a.m. and now it is 9 p.m. He's laughing, watching all these content creators. He has done absolutely nothing about his problem. He has not made any progress. He is several hours ahead, but progress wise, not even a minute. And was his problem ultimately solved of loneliness? No. But was he distracted from his problem? Yes. So he makes no progress. He's stagnated. He has wasted his time. But had it not been social media, he could have even solved that problem because it would have been more prevalent on his mind. But because he was distracted from the problem, he inevitably returns back to the problem when he is in his right state of mind again. And that's the central problem of social media. It not only distracts you, but it degrades you. It degrades you. It makes people careless. And that's the central problem. It makes people careless. There was an experience the other day. Sometimes it happens. I'm working on it. I'm getting better. I'm not. That's something I will feel it because it'll make me feel sad at times. There'll be times when I'm watching a video, but more likely when I'm more in the moment, there'll be instances where I'm playing a video game and my mom would be talking to me, right? But instead of pausing the game and giving my mom, of course, eye contact, I would be responding. I would be, being engaged in conversation. But people want to know that you care more than you listen. Listening is good, but caring is actually more because you can not care about a conversation but respond just fine to it. So I was answering, I was sometimes here and there laughing, I was talking, right? But my eyes was still on the TV. I noticed that my mom sees that, but she doesn't talk about that. So I was still playing my game and all that, and I was looking at the TV, and sometimes I would look at her, but it didn't really matter much because I would inevitably look back on the TV. That's a sign of carelessness. Well, no matter how someone tries to frame it or justify it, it's a form of carelessness. It's a form of lack of concern that you regard something you can pause more than the living human being that's talking to you. But even then, even though you can pause it, because you have an urge to play, that urge for pleasure, you know it's wrong, but you still play the game anyways, even though there's a conversation you're in the middle of. So you want to eat a cake too. You want to continue talking while simultaneously not putting down the controller and giving them your full un distributed attention. Social media has made people less quality, of less quality, of less quality. Those few words go so far. But why are people of less quality? They choose willingly to be of less quality. Yes, they have chosen it. Not entirely willingly, but they have nevertheless still agreed to live a life that is a fraction of really what it could be. That's a sad truth about the situation. And how did it do that? How did it make people feel less quality? Because remove care. If you don't care much, you wouldn't care to improve. If they remove your concern, that's all they need to do. Because from there on, problem solved, task fulfilled. Because they know you won't be do anything. There's no need, no urgency, no regard. And because people care less, people have, and that's another thing I want to transition from. Socialization is a great transition into our next point. It makes it diminishes moral integrity. That's just important. That's just as important as the first point. It diminishes moral integrity. I want to continue, but I want that to sink in first. Social media diminishes moral integrity because it has damaged the lack of care that affects socialization, and that also, of course, affects moral integrity. And social media by nature is designed to make people selfish. Moral integrity is your level of selflessness. But social media has programmed, yes, I'll use that term, technological term, rather fitting, if you will. It has made people care less about not just themselves, that they're willing to pause their own lives and be distracted with for the sake of entertainment that doesn't benefit them. But as just as much as their lack of concern is apparent for themselves, their lack of concern is even more apparent for other people. People have lacked manners, people have become rude. And many of you all watching, I'm hoping that many of you all have repented and changed. But here and there, even you have to admit you go through the effects of your action. Even if the action is, again, done away with, the effects you're slowly still recovering from. You're slowly still recovering from it. Many of you all, we're going to take some elements from the first point again, socialization. Many of all should be in a relationship by now. Not just any relationship, but an intimate relationship in general, or even a romantic relationship. You should be in that position. I know it doesn't sound like I'm demanding much out of you, but that's not the purpose of this video. But why are some men, for an example, very awkward around women nowadays? Why do some men not know how to talk to girls? You think it's because of them. The truth is actually because of social media. Because you're not social even towards the opposite sex. Many individuals are not even social towards the same sex. Social, if it were not for social media, you would be probably with someone now. I know it's bold claim to make, but I say it with full sincerity and honesty. I am convinced you would probably be with someone now. You would be able to express yourself, your true emotions much better. But individuals are less social, are less able to interact because social media has held them in a cage, has restricted them from growing in basic human qualities. If it were not for socialization, you out of boredom would have probably went and made a friend. You would have probably learn different perspectives on life other than just one. But when the urge that God has given us, the urge for intimacy has come, rather than than rather than knowing people as you were designed, for man wasn't designed to be alone. You have taken rather to pornography. You have taken to masturbation. You have taken to technology to deal with emotions that concern more with people. I'm telling you, social media is the cause of the growing loneliness. And if men are lonely, that by nature tells you women are lonely. Let's be honest with ourselves. So social media has made us selfish. And because it has made us selfish, point number two, moral integrity, affects point number one, socialization. So, and it's ironic, really, it's really ironic, but you're surprised. You would think that shouldn't there be less people in the world? Less people are coming together. Shouldn't that mean that there's less people having children? I wouldn't get to that very soon. There are families still happening, but the mindset is not family sustaining. Family productive, but not family sustaining. Me beginning something is not the same as me sustaining something. I can plant a seed in a garden and never check up on that seed. If we want that seed to grow up into a healthy, fruitful tree, I'm going to need to occasionally come back and check on that seed and make sure it receives the nutrients and nourishment it deserves. But if I begin a task, but don't really come back and check on it, don't sustain it, don't constantly look after it, then it will still grow, but not into anything desirable. So families are being started, children are being born, but are children being sustained? Children are being given life, but are they keeping life? That's a question I ask. Because it doesn't cost a man or woman much to have a kid, but it costs them much to look after that kid. Because to love someone requires you in some area, really in all areas of your life, to be selfless, to disregard yourself so that someone may be regarded in place of you. A man can have a kid and he can be completely selfish. A mother can give, those a little bit more intimate, of course. A mother can also give birth to a child. She can also be selfish. But just that, the thing is that, would you go through 7 months, or rather 9 months of pain if you're selfish? It doesn't really add up and stuff. But you know the stories on news. They still go through the 9 months and still mistreat the child. Like you suffered 9 months for this kid. You're not gonna even look after them. Social media has added to that. Basic integrity, basic empathy. They don't even know how to be empathetic. You think people are just, they're not empathetic because they're just not empathetic because they're just bad people. That's not true fully. Don't oversimplify it. That's not fully true. They're not just bad people, but they have been raised in an atmosphere that supports the lack of empathy. It's like me blaming a kid for not knowing how to draw, but he never drew before. Did he not know how to draw because he's a bad student? No, I must also take into account his backstory. I must understand him before I just harshly prejudice or judge him. So people are very selfish, but not exclusively because they're bad people. The problem runs a little bit deeper than just that. Is because they were not raised in the condition to love someone. It's a sad truth, but it's true. They have grown up with a cell phone. They've grown up with the computer. They've grown up with video games. They have higher hours, more hours of their life on technology than hours interacting with people. And this is why small talk is on the rise.